देशमुख सर. गुड मॉर्निंग. विठ्ठल गोरे सर झालेत बघा. वी कॅन स्टार्ट. हॅलो.
हॅलो.
आमचे प्राचार्य जॉईन झाले का आपण सुरू करूयात.
हॅलो सर, एम आय ऑडिबल?
येस, यू आर ऑडिबल सर.
हॅलो.
गोरे सर, यू आर ऑडिबल. हॅलो. हा, येतो तुमचा आवाज. प्राचार्य सर जॉईन झाले
एम आय
का?
ऑडिबल?
येस. ओके ओके.
हॅलो.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
दुर्गेश सर, एम आय ऑडिबल?
Yes, you are audible, sir.
मोरे सर.
Principal sir has already joined. Am I audible? So good morning, all of you. Right, sir. Gore sir, am I audible to you, please? Dr. Vittal Gore sir, can you hear me, please?
गोरे राय. गोरे.
Dr. Ravande sir, can you please call Dr. Gore sir? He joined, but I think he is not audible. Join करू. आवाज येतोय का? He joined? Okay. Good morning, President of today's program, our Principal Dr. B.S. Munde sir, our special guest and resource person of this online webinar, Dr. Vittal Gore from Sri Havangi Swami College, Udgir, and Dr. Mukesh Kadgaonkar from IOC Limited, Faridabad, UP. Our Vice Principal, Dr. K.G. Huge, Dr. B.S. Gite, IQAC Coordinator of our college, Dr. D.B. Ravande, convener and coordinator of this particular webinar, that is one day national webinar on IPR, Dr. P.A. Chalikwar, and all the delegatories, all the participants present were here for this online seminar, and all the friends. Today, on behalf of IQAC KKM College Manvat, we are organizing this one-day national webinar on a very, very important and essential topic. Before this, our IQAC has already organized such kind of workshops and webinars. This webinar on intellectual property rights and research ethics is nowadays finding its very important role, and it is found to be very essential. Today, on this auspicious occasion, we are going to have two sessions, and we'll have Dr. Vittal Gore as a resource person for the first session, while for the second session, our resource person will be from IOC Limited, Faridabad, UP. So before going to the first session, I would like to request our principal, Dr. B.S. Munde sir, for his introductory speech. Dr. B.S. Munde sir, please. Dr. B.S. Munde sir. I would like to request Dr. B.S. Munde sir for welcome speech, introductory speech. On behalf of this seminar, I welcome all of you here. You may please ask Dr. B.S. Munde sir for his introductory speech. For this particular webinar, we are going to have two sessions. Out of these two sessions, the first session will be conducted by our resource person, Dr. Vittal Gore sir. And just after that, we'll continue with the second session where the resource person will be Dr. Mahesh Kadgaonkar. And the overall webinar will be there on the IPR, that is intellectual property rights, in overview and ethics. So the detailed analysis, detailed view topic will be here today. We are having our chief guest and resource person with us. Within 2 minutes, our principal, president of this webinar, will join us for his introductory speech due to some technical points.
Hello.
Yes, yes, sir.
Am I audible to you?
You are audible.
Yes. He's joining from my phone. Okay.
I request president of this function, Dr. B.S. Munde sir, for his introductory speech.
हेलो बोलो बोर्डे सर येते का आवाज येतो मला तुम्हाला म्हणजे असं नाही डायरेक्ट नको हा करू का सुरू हा हा ओके ओके हा गुड मॉर्निंग टू वन अँड ऑल टुडे वी आर ऑर्गनायझिंग वन डे वेबिनार on intellectual property rights and research ethics. The first session is of research ethics and resource person is Dr. विठ्ठल गोरे. स्वागत करतो. आणि दुसऱ्या सेशन मध्ये आपल्याला रिसोर्स पर्सन म्हणून डॉक्टर महेश कडगावकर, रिसर्च मॅनेजर, कॅटलिस्ट डिपार्टमेंट रिसर्च अँड डेव्हलपमेंट सेंटर, इंडियन ऑइल कॉर्पोरेशन लिमिटेड, फरीदाबाद, यूपी हे राहणार आहेत. तर या दोन्ही सेशनसाठी मी सर्व पार्टिसिपंटचं हार्दिक स्वागत करतो. महाविद्यालयाचं हे सुवर्ण महोत्सवी वर्ष आहे आणि आम्ही चौथ्या नॅटच्या सायकलसाठी सामोरे जात आहोत आणि त्या अनुषंगाने आम्ही विविध वेबिनार सेमिनार ऑर्गनाइज करत आहोत. कालच आम्ही न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह अँड अपॉर्च्युनिटीज किंवा चॅलेंजेस याच्यावर डॉक्टर आर टी बेदरे डायरेक्टर UGC HRDC हरिसिंग गौर युनिव्हर्सिटी सागर MP यांचं एक ऑफलाईन व्याख्यान आयोजित केलं होतं. तर या अनुषंगानं त्यांनी जे काही माहिती दिली, न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसी इम्प्लिमेंट करताना असणाऱ्या ज्या काही चॅलेंजेस आहेत, जे काही ऑपॉर्च्युनिटीज आहेत, जे काही पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह आहेत, याच्यावर आमचं सखोल विश्लेषण झालं. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये एक महत्त्वाचा भाग असा आम्हाला लक्षात आला की न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसीमध्ये ज्या काही गोष्टी आपण अंतर्भूत करणार आहोत, त्याच्यामध्ये 4 इयर डिग्री कोर्स आहे, मल्टिपल एंट्री मल्टिपल एक्सिट आहे, अकॅडमिक बँक ऑफ क्रेडिट आहे. परंतु याचबरोबर एक नवीन जी गोष्ट आहे ती आहे नॅशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन ची स्थापना. आणि नॅशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशनची स्थापना NRF ही यासाठी केली आहे की आपल्या देशामध्ये जे काही रिसर्च होत आहे त्या रिसर्च जर आपण जागतिक पातळीवर त्याचा जर अभ्यास केला तर आपलं रिसर्च हे खूप कमी दर्जाचं म्हणता येईल अशी परिस्थिती आहे. याची कारण आपल्या रिसर्च मध्ये जे काही रिपीटेशन आणि डुप्लिकेशन होत आहे आणि त्याच्यामुळं आपलं रिसर्च ज्या काही फंडिंग एजन्सीज आहेत त्याच्यामध्ये कोऑर्डिनेशन होण्यासाठी आणि रिसर्च एक बेसिक रिसर्च होण्यासाठी ह्या नॅशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशनची स्थापना होणार आहे. परंतु यामधला जो काही रिसर्च करणारा जो काही घटक आहे, जो प्राध्यापक आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये आपल्या रिसर्च बद्दल जी काही आत्मीयता पाहिजे, फक्त आपल्या काहीतरी कॅशसाठी किंवा यासाठी प्रमोशनसाठी रिसर्च न करता फॉर द सेक ऑफ नॉलेज हे रिसर्च केलं गेलं पाहिजे. आणि याच्यासाठी जे काही आपल्या प्रोफेशनल इथिक्स आहे त्याचबरोबर रिसर्च इथिक्स आपल्यामध्ये इन्कल्केट होण्यासाठी आपण या रिसर्च इथिक्सचं इथं आयोजन केलेलं आहे. कारण रिसर्चचा जो पुढचा भाग आहे, तुमचं जर रिसर्च एकदम चांगल्या दर्जाचं असेल आणि ओरिजिनल असेल तर त्याचा जो पुढचा टप्पा आहे तो आहे पेटेंट मिळवण्याचा. आणि पेटेंट फायलिंग करण्यासाठी जी काही आपली इंटेलेक्च्युअल प्रॉपर्टी आहे, जशी आपली मुव्हेबल प्रॉपर्टी, नॉन मुव्हेबल प्रॉपर्टी आपण असं म्हणतो, तशी ही एक इंटेलेक्च्युअल प्रॉपर्टी आहे 21व्या शतकातली. आणि तिचं पेटेंट करण्यासाठी, त्याच्यावरचा आपला हक्क अबाधित ठेवण्यासाठी, संपादित करण्यासाठी स्वामित्व हक्क ज्याला आपण म्हणतो, त्याचं नाव आहे इंटेलेक्च्युअल प्रॉपर्टी राईट. या अनुषंगानं या दोन्ही जे काही रिसोर्स पर्सन्स आहेत, डॉक्टर विठ्ठल गोरे सर हावगी स्वामी महाविद्यालयातून ते प्राध्यापक आहेत, ते रिसर्च इथिक्सवर बोलणार आहेत. आणि दुसरे आहेत डॉक्टर महेश कडगावकर, ते सायंटिस्ट आहेत, रिसर्च मॅनेजर आहेत आणि ते इंडियन ऑइल कॉर्पोरेशन फरीदाबाद इथे काम करत आहेत. दोन्ही या ऑनलाईन वेबिनारचा आमचे सर्व पार्टिसिपंट लाभ घेऊन हा वेबिनार निश्चित यशस्वी होईल यात मला शंका नाही. या वेबिनारसाठी जी काही आमची टीम काम करत आहे, विशेषतः भौतिकशास्त्र विभागाचे जे माझे सहकारी आहेत डॉक्टर चालिकवार सर, यांचं मी प्रथम अभिनंदन करतो की त्यांनी या वेबिनार आयोजित करण्यासाठी जे काही स्वतः जबाबदारी स्वीकारली आहे आणि त्याच्यासाठी ते मेहनत घेत आहेत. त्याचबरोबर आमचे IQAC कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर रोहनदे सर, नॅक कोऑर्डिनेटर डॉक्टर बोर्डे सर, या सर्वांच्या टीमचं मी अभिनंदन करतो. सर्वांचं पुन्हा एकदा स्वागत करतो. आणि या वेबिनारला डॉक्टर विठ्ठल गोरे सर पहिल्या सेशनमध्ये रिसर्च इथिक्सवर बोलतील आणि पुढील सूत्र संकलन डॉक्टर बोर्डे सरांकडे देतो. धन्यवाद.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words. Now it's my immense pleasure to welcome our resource person for this first session, Dr. Vittal Gore, speaker and our resource person, with his thoughts on this particular topic. Before that, it's my duty that I should introduce our guest and resource person of this session, Dr. Vittal Gore sir. May I request Dr. Chalikwar sir for introducing our guest and resource person of this session, Dr. Vittal Gore sir. Chalikwar sir.
Good morning, all of you. A warm welcome for this on the occasion of this one-day webinar on IPR. Today I am here to introduce Dr. Vittal Gore sir. He is presently assistant professor and head department of English, College Ekgir. He has
ಗಾಡಿ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿ.
from Nanded. He is completed from University ED in English from Osmania University, Hyderabad. He has completed his international certification from ETS India Limited, Cambridge University, UK. He is teaching in English literature, communication skill, and phonetics since 1997. He is recognized as a PG teacher and research supervisor in English. Also, research associate from UGC IUC Center, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. He has developed 23 e-contents as a subject expert from MHRD sponsored UGC e-content development program. Also, he has developed 177 e-content module based on SRT-MUN syllabi for compulsory and optional English. He has developed computer software that is based on computer-based English language training program. He has published 37 presentations as a resource person for UGC, HIDC, conferences, seminars, and short-term courses. He has 10 times invited lecture in different colleges and universities. He has published 11 paper presentation in national and international events. He has published 20 research publications in UGC clear-listed journals and refereed journals. 9 research publications in proceeding of different academic events. He has also published 8 chapters to prescribed books of SRT-MUN Nanded and Osmania University, Hyderabad. He organized 15 state, national, and international events. Also, he is a member of BOS Syllabus Committee for English for SRT-MUN University from January 17 to January 18. He is also editor for national and international research journal and newsletter. Also, he is a NAC and IQAC coordinator for his college for second and third cycle. He is also NSS program officer from 22-23 onwards. This is a short introduction of our today's research person, Dr. Vittal Gore sir.
Thank you, sir, for the prescribed introduction of our guest, Dr. Vittal Gore, sir. Without delaying much more, now may I request Dr. Vittal Gore to enlighten us with his thoughts on this IPR researchers. Yes, Vittal Gore, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. Thank you. First of all, I must congratulate KKM College Manvat and its very active unit, that is Internal Quality Assurance Cell, for organizing this one-day national webinar on intellectual property rights and research ethics. Honorable Principal Munde sir, webinar coordinator Dr. Pankaj Chalikwar sir, the anchor of this event Kailas Burude sir, IQAC coordinator Dr. Dukesh Ravande sir, and all the participants of this online webinar. Friends, as you know very well, that we are living in the 21st century and almost into the third decade of this century. Technology, various digital platforms, online education, all these things have been very much familiar to all of us now. But apart from our academic association with the institution and our academic contribution for the overall development of the students, we need to get into the research arena as well. And I think here, the topic for the day begins. I appreciate the internal quality assurance cell of this college for taking up this very crucial topic, that is intellectual property rights and research ethics, as the title of this event. Friends, each one of us knows that plagiarism-free research and the research which is executed with all possible research ethics, by keeping in mind the intellectual property rights of the country and the international rights as well, we need to execute our research task. Whether it is just developing a research paper or else working for some research oriented documentation for major or minor research, or else you take up any research project at the national or international research agency, whatever it may be. The point is how ethical you are when you conduct any research. And I think the deliberations on these two topics today, in fact, I'm dealing with the second part, that is research ethics. And a renowned scientist who has 28 patents to his credit will talk after this session on intellectual property rights and let you know how this research actually should go. So friends, now I would like to begin my presentation today. And the topic of my talk is research ethics. So sir, please allow me to share my PowerPoint presentation. Is it visible to all of you? Hello? Okay. Okay. Is it maximized also? Is it a full screen? Hello? Okay, fine. Thank you. So friends, as I said just before, that I'll talk on research ethics. As a matter of fact, my talk will have two sections because the title itself demands that there should be a proper deliberation on two topics. One is what is research and another is what do you mean by ethics. And when you combine together, you will have a very holistic idea of research ethics as such. Friends, let us look at a very common term that we keep using time and again in our day-to-day life. But the point is, how many of us really put an effort to get into the depth of this particular term? Whenever you say or you happen to refer to a word research, we just take it for granted that we have something or the other to do apart from academics in order to attain our academics index score and get our promotion. Is that really enough as far as our approach and attitude is concerned? Holistically, when you look at research as a term, you will realize that research is a systematic investigation for pertinent information on a specific topic. As you take up a topic for your research paper writing, you take up a topic for your MPhil or PhD thesis, you take up a topic for your major or minor research, or else you take up a topic for a research that you do from some other outside agency or a funding agency. The thing is, whatever topic that you have taken up, depending on your own area of research, it always demands a systematic investigation for the pertinent information on the topic that you have taken. Let us try to get some finer details in this respect. Because research is not only a systematic investigation, it is also a careful inquiry, specifically through search for facts in any branch of knowledge that you have taken up. Because you know very well that knowledge is indefinite, infinite, you cannot measure it at all. And likewise, you have several branches of study, branches of research, and branches of knowledge as well. So when you've taken up a topic for research, try to acquire some pertinent information on the topic with a systematic investigation. But beyond that, you also make an effort, you also put in your very, very sincere efforts in order to do a careful inquiry, specifically through research for facts. See, the word facts is very crucial here. It is not just a kind of careful inquiry. It is a kind of inquiry specifically through the search for facts. Whether it is a research done in the sociological or social sciences, whether it is a research done in the field of sciences itself, where practicals are expected, whereas you take up as research even in the domain of languages and literature. The thing is, unless you make a systematic investigation, unless you acquire pertinent information, unless you have a very careful inquiry through the search for facts, your research will not really come to a particular standard as expected. Because each one of us knows that an academic contribution to the existing stock of knowledge, making for its advancement, is nothing but a research. But can we limit the interpretation of research to that particular academic contribution only? Can we limit it that the kind of advancement that you are doing in the field of academics and contributing to the domain of research will it be really expected over there at this stage when all of us are working at either the senior college level or the university level and claiming our credits for certain research? Is that really up to this particular mark that we do some or the other haphazardly managed academic contribution? No. If you look at research in the very holistic point of view, with a very practical approach, you will realize that research is not only a systematic investigation for pertinent information on a specific topic. It is not only a careful inquiry specifically done through the search for facts in any branch of knowledge, but beyond that, it is a kind of pursuit of truth with the help of study, observations, experiments, and conclusion. See, now I'm trying to drag this point ahead. And finally, the statement that I have made, when you talk in general about research, I think you have to have this kind of very broad conceptual understanding that research always demands a kind of pursuit of truth from the end of a researcher. How focused you are as a researcher, how knowledgeable you are as a researcher, how prepared you are as a researcher. Moreover, how do you really take up your study? How systematically you have taken up your study? What are your observations? What are your experiments? What are your findings? How did you bring to certain conclusion? Because your research will be successful only when your hypothesis will be successfully tested. Your research will be successful only when your objectives will be properly addressed towards the end of your document. And unless these two things are happening, I would say that this research is not going to really be a successful one. So please be very specific when you undertake any kind of research, whether you do any action research, experimental research, exploratory research, or any kind of research, even for your thesis writing, or else for your paper writing, or else for your minor or major research project, whatever it may be. Let us have a better understanding of the hypothesis and how do you really meet the requirements at the end, and what are your objectives and whether these objectives are properly addressed in the conclusion or not. That decides the success of the document. So here, unless you have a better understanding of the term research, you will not be able to understand what do you mean by research ethics as such. But before I proceed with the second term, that is ethics, I would like to brief you all about the types of research that we undertake. In fact, you have multiple types of research or researches available, whether it is sociological domain of research or linguistic and literature oriented domain of research, or even your scientific and technological kind of research. You have multiple types of research methodologies and methods available in the world. But just to discuss a few of them, the identified of them, I would like to talk on just a limited one, like theoretical research or exploratory research, your descriptive research, explanatory research. You are very well familiar with qualitative and quantitative research. And we keep on listening about experimental research and scientific research as well. But the point is, what do you mean by all these types of research, and what are the fundamental demands or the requirements of all these researches. How to really categorize your own research that you undertake in a particular domain or in a particular methodology. You have to have that better understanding of this. So when you talk in general about the theoretical research, actually theoretical research usually explains the existing experimental research results, and it also makes you to predict the new results. See here, the explanations are done. Number one, the existing experimental results, and number two, this kind of theoretical research compels you to predict about the new possibilities, to predict about the newly inducted results with an experiment. See, unless you do certain experiments in this respect, make a proper validity of the existing theories and the proper validity of the collected or the gathered data, and unless you modify them to a new one, this kind of research, that is theoretical research, will not be a successful one. Similarly, you have the exploratory research also. Actually, these are the various approaches of research. When you talk about the exploratory research, as I said just before, that it is a methodological approach that explores the research questions which have not previously been studied in depth. And that's why you call it exploratory research. In fact, you have any number of research ideas. You have any number of research questions. But mind it well, when you claim that you are doing some exploratory research, never do it on the research questions which have already been studied earlier. Otherwise, it will not be labeled as and accepted as the exploratory research. Your research question should have its own creativity. It should give the sense of exploration. It should always give the sense of newness. And all these ideas which are creative, innovative, exploratory should be studied in depth. But when you undertake this kind of research, it is often used when the issue is taken up for study as a latest one, the newest one. The data is collected through a proper process, a proper channel. And of course, you try to find out the way out when you undertake that kind of research. Similarly, we have a very simple methodology of research, and most of us are really fond of this. That is descriptive research. As a matter of fact, descriptive research aims to accurately and systematically describe a population, situation, or a phenomenon. You can also lead it to linguistic aspects. You can also lead it to sociological aspect. You can also lead it to literature-oriented aspects. No doubt. There is no limit as such. When you happen to describe something, some situation, some phenomenon, some development, some happenings, some proceedings, all these things or all these arenas can be counted as a part and parcel of this kind of research, that you call it descriptive research. Then you have another type of research also called explanatory research. Actually, it is also a kind of research method that explores something that occurs when limited information is available. And you are, being the researcher, you are expected to do certain explanation in this regard. That's why it is called explanatory research. Because the kind of information which is already available in the domain of research, in the domain of knowledge, in the respective branch of study, that is limited. And here, being a researcher, you have to study it with proper depth or expected depth and bring out something new which is not really known to the people all around. And that's why this kind of research is called explanatory research. Similarly, you have the qualitative research and quantitative research as well. Probably you might have heard about the qualitative research that always demands a kind of data that you collect from different people around with the help of open-ended questions, and you also conduct a kind of face-to-face or online kind of conversation, and you gather and you collect the data which is required for your research. Nowadays, so many people are conducting online surveys also with the help of different online tools like Google Forms and all, and collecting the qualitative information from the respondents and trying to analyze it based on the approach adopted and coming to certain conclusions. Whatever question, research question that they have designed, they try to bring out certain outcome out of it. So that is also counted as a qualitative research nowadays. Switching over to the quantitative research, I hope you know, especially the just learners or faculties or researchers of mathematics, economics, statistics. Okay, so they undertake this kind of research because quantitative research deals with numbers, logics, and they have their own objective stance right in the beginning when they begin with their quantitative research. Because quantitative research actually focuses on the numeric and unchanging data with the detailed reasoning. Why do I call it detailed reasoning? Because logic is the fundamental value of this kind of research. Numerical data or the numerical analysis is the foundation of this research. And based on the numbers and the logics, when you try to bring out certain outcomes, or when you bring your conclusions, you will realize that this quantitative research or this kind of quantitative method of research actually provides you a very reliable output. And that's why this kind of research is called the quantitative research. Similarly, you have two more methods of research, like experimental research and scientific research. As far as experimental research is concerned, it is conducted with a scientific approach, and we use two or more sets of variables, and sometimes comparison is also made over there. But when it comes to the experimental research, this is done not only in the field of sciences, but it also can be done in the field of linguistics, in the field of social sciences as well. If you happen to visit sometimes to Tata Fundamental Research Center, where you have one unit also where they do some sort of sociological research or social science oriented research, you will find that how scientifically the research is being conducted by them. So here, when you talk about the experimental research, so it actually provides you either social science oriented scientific approach, or else the basic science oriented scientific approach for conducting your research, and you have your different variables. Based on all these variables and the interpretations of the variables, you come to certain conclusions as far as your outcome of the research is concerned. And finally, you have scientific research. Actually, this is not the end. I have just taken up a few for our discussion today, not all. In fact, there are different types of methods that can be adapted for conducting a research. Depending on the demands of the topic, you need to take up your methodology. So when it comes to the scientific research, this scientific research is generally conducted for the purpose of contributing towards science by the systematic collection, interpretation, evaluation of data in a very planned manner. Because scientific research demands laboratory proofs. Because you know very well, science demands laboratory proofs. You cannot just assume few things and go ahead with a proper approach. No. You have to have your own collection of data, the method of data collection, the method of data interpretation, and then the method of evaluation as well. Unless all these stages are not scientifically addressed, such kind of research will never be counted as a scientific research. So this is what is all about research in general. So now I just made an effort in order to discuss about what do you mean by research in the definition point of view, in the theoretical point of view. And similarly, I talked about the various types of research that we generally conduct as a part of our either thesis writing or project report writing, or else even we do some sort of research for our research paper writing, whatever it may be. But we have to have a proper methodology, then only the validity of research will be counted positively. Okay, let us proceed further. As I said earlier, that my talk will have two sections. One, the research, the fundamental understanding of the concept of research and the types of research. And my core of the discussion today is all about ethics. And finally, I'll combine what do you mean by research ethics and what are you supposed to do as a researcher, whether at MPhil or PhD level, or else you are writing your research paper, or else you are conducting your research for any major or minor project. So friends, first of all, let us try to understand what do you mean by ethics. Okay, conceptually try to understand that. Later, we will try to get into the domain of research ethics as such. Actually, ethics is the branch of knowledge that deals with noble moral principles. I'm using a word very casual, very normal, but moral principles. Now you ask a question to yourself. Don't you have your own set of morals that you follow in your life? Each one of you will answer me positively. Yes, of course. We do have certain sets of morals that we adopt as the principles of our life, and then we call them the moral principles of one's life, right? So ethics at a broader level, when you take up this term as a broad term, you find that ethics is the branch of knowledge that deals with moral principles. When you say moral principles, let us try to get into the finer details of this term as well. Moral principles that govern a person's behavior or his or her conduct of activity. See, we do several activities in our life. Okay, we have our family life. We undertake several activities. We have our own professional life. On professional fronts, we do several activities. See, you have a set of moral values for your personal life, for your family life, for your social life, and similarly for your professional life as well. The way you are within the family, the way you are outside the family, the way you are in the professional domain. You have to follow certain ethics. You have your moral code of conduct when you are all alone. You have your own moral code of conduct when you are there in the company of the members of your family. You have your own moral code of conduct there in the society. And more particularly, you have to have certain codes there in your professional life as well. And when you say research ethics, mind it well, this is the integral part of your professional life. So ethics or moral principles, again, as a broad term, is actually a branch of philosophy. Mind it well, friends. The term philosophy itself is very, very abstract term. Because philosophy by nature is abstract. It is ambiguous. You can't come to a proper, very satisfactory and acceptable to all kind of conclusion. And that's why philosophy is called an abstract realm. The moral values that you have in India, not essential that they will have equal importance in other parts of the world. The ethical values that you have set up for yourself in your personal life or in your family life, not essential that it will have the same value in other family. So the thing is, ethics and moral principles is actually a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong behavior. Now the question is, who will decide what is wrong and what is right? Got it? Probably in one of the very renowned articles you might have heard about, the brother of Ravana, that is Bibhishana, whether you call him a right person or a wrong. When you think with the Indian perspective, you find his activities as the right activities because he happened to help our Rama. I'm using the word our Rama, who belonged to our country. But when you think in the perspectives of Sri Lanka, and a man who went against the king, a man who went against the brother, will be called a traitor. So in the perspectives of the Sri Lankans, probably Vibhishana and his activities were the wrong. And that's why I questioned you all that do you have any single parameter to decide what is wrong and what is right? Sometimes whatever that I do or the way that I think of, I take it at my own personal level as a right thing. But probably it may have a negative impact on the others and the others will take it as a wrong thing. So there is no single yardstick that you can decide something right and something wrong. So we will just let this topic here itself, because already I said right in the beginning that the philosophy itself is a very, very abstract realm. And you cannot have one single satisfactory conclusion acceptable to all. And probably, as far as ethics are concerned, same thing will happen. When I'll say that this is wrong, probably you will say the same thing is being right. So that's why I asked you a question. Can we be so judgmental to decide something right and something wrong? So let us take this topic for further discussion here. And when you say in general about ethics, actually ethics refer to rules provided by an external source. Now here you come to a point. Okay. How do I assume it? How do I take it up? What is my personal opinion? These things are not important now as far as ethics are concerned. What are your personal ethics? Nobody is going to question. Whatever you are doing within the confined structure of your house called a home, nobody will bother. But the moment you step out, you have certain ethics imposed by the society, and they are not only imposed, but they are expected to be followed by you. The thing happened in the case of professional life as well. Professional life is not at all a personal life. Professional life, it itself indicates that you are not only a person there, but a professional where multiple professionals come together called an organization and work for the development of the organization, parallelly the development of the self. So where is the question of your personal ethics here? Okay, so there is nothing personal as far as research ethics are concerned. This is something which is very objective. This is something very, very professional. And when you talk about ethics, actually ethics refer to the rules provided by an external source. And that source decides your codes of conduct in the workplace. All these principles in religion, they are controlled by the men of religion. Okay, different religions are there in the world. So when you say religious ethics, these religious ethics are controlled by, or the religious principles are controlled by either the holy books of the respective religion, or else the people, those who have occupied certain position in the hierarchy of the religious institutions. In fact, we have nothing to do with principles in religion and the ethics in religion. Just leave it aside. Our main concern is to talk about the codes of conduct in workplace. And when you have certain codes of conduct which are imposed by your organization, as you are expected to follow, and they become the external source for your code of conduct in the organization. Right? I hope you got my point now. Because never get confused with the personal ethics and the professional ethics. Never get confused with the personal ethics with the research ethics. Actually, ethics itself is a branch of philosophy that addresses the questions about justice and morality. But what kind of justice am I talking about? What kind of morality am I talking about? Am I talking about the social morality here? Am I talking about the religious morality here? Am I talking about the poetic justice? No. I'm all talking about the research ethics that we are expected to follow. We are talking about the justice given to the right researcher and the morality that the other researchers are expected to follow while performing any research activity. And that you call research ethics. Ethics is the branch of philosophy that addresses the questions about justice in research. That talks about morality in research. So if you expand this term, you will also realize that the field of ethics, along with aesthetics, concerns the matters of value. So whether it is your personal life, social life, professional life, or research oriented kind of thing that you conduct, whatever it may be, if you think of maintaining certain standards over there, you will think of values, you will think of principles, you will think of code of conduct, so on and so on. And finally, it will lead to justice, it will lead to morality. let us try to expand this topic further. Because as you know very well, we are all expected to discuss about the ethics, more particularly required at the professional life. Excuse me. Now, this slide will let you know about the code of ethics. Mind it well, I'm not talking about religious values, I'm not talking about social values. My total focus is on professional values and research values only. So automatically, each of the slides now onwards will take you to the next stage of research ethics. As far as the code of ethics are concerned, anyway, I will discuss all these points in some other slide as well, but I'll just take a quick run through. So when you in general talk about the code of ethics, you are expected to show your integrity for the work. You have to have professional competence. You have to maintain the required confidentiality. While undertaking any kind of work, you have to be very objective and you need to maintain objectivity over there. And finally, your professional behavior is also expected there. But when you talk in particular about research ethics, what do you mean by that? Because up till now, I talked research as a standalone arena of knowledge. I discussed ethics as a standalone point. But now, while leading towards the end of the talk, I'm going to combine these two terms together in order to make you understand what do you mean by research ethics and what are we supposed to do as a researcher. Each one of us, including me. Actually, research ethics involve the application of fundamental ethical principles to research activities. Already I talked about the fundamentals of ethics. Because there are certain principles, especially that of research. If something belongs to me, let it be. Never claim so. If something belongs to you, I should never dare to claim so. So if you have this minimum understanding of the fundamental ethical principle, you will realize that we can do wonders in the field of social sciences, languages, linguistics, and even in the field of science, technology, and this digital world as well. So this research ethics as a term, it actually includes the design and implementation of research. But one thing you need to remember, that we should have respect towards society and others. Because you know very well, man cannot live alone. We need the company of men and women around in the form of a society. Aristotle has a very renowned statement in this regard. So here, when you undertake any research, mind it well, that you should include a design of your own. You should implement the design on your own and see that what best you can do from your end as a researcher. You have ample data to use, you have ample resources to use. But based on your own design and implementation of the research design, you should come out with your own outcomes and you should avoid the scientific misconduct and the violation of the regulation of research. Because the research ethics are actually governed by the external forces, as I said. Because you have intellectual property rights, You have the laws of the land. You have the international laws in this respect. But okay, just forget about all these laws and obligations. First of all, at your own level as an individual, as a learned individual, who is undertaking some or the other research, at least should have a self-consciousness that I do owe something to society, something to my profession, something to my domain, something to research. And this sense of understanding will make you ethically aware as far as research activities are concerned. And that's why it is expected here to adhere to the ethical principles in order to protect your own dignity, your own dignity, the dignity of others, intellectual rights of an individual, and at a larger level, welfare of research participants. Because sometimes we do undertake research, but it is not the activity of an individual. It becomes a collective effort. So we should also think of the welfare of others, at the same time, welfare of the self. But here, you need to be very, very ethical, very, very principled, very, very very, very research orientedly moral. Then only you will be able to follow all these things in your life. Is it the limit? No. Actually, when it comes to ethics, of course, I said like it is the professional affair. But when it comes to the implementation at the personal level, it becomes the personal code of conduct. And that's why ethics are called personal code of conduct based on the respect for oneself, others, and the surroundings. And the reason is very obvious here. Because the ethics are governed by the principles or assumptions underpinning the way individuals or organizations ought to conduct themselves. Now, many of you may have a question or a doubt in mind, whereas earlier so much research has been done, and whatever so much of research has been done, there was no intellectual property right law. We did not even heard about any plagiarism case. We did not even heard about any other litigation in the floor of the court. Why all these things now? Mind it well, this digital technology or ICT technology, that is information and communication technology, has expanded throughout the world. The content which is digitally available here in my computer can be made available throughout the world in a minute. It will not even take 1 minute. So this revolution in the digital technology has really created a wide scope for research ethics and the laws in this respect. And that's why I said that research ethics have to be followed at personal level. But this is the professional concern. And that is all controlled by outsiders. Outsiders in the sense, outside sources. Whether these are the codes of conduct of the research institute, codes of conduct imposed by university or UGC, or even by government, or by international laws. Because there are several international laws on intellectual property rights also. The moment you use something on Google, you are automatically abiding to the international laws related to intellectual property rights. So here, when you talk about these ethical considerations in research area, They are a set of principles that guide your research design and practice. And that's the reason that I always promoted that you should be very, very ethically sound, morally strong, and a principled personality as far as doing research is concerned. Because research ethics involve the application of fundamental ethical principles which are required for the research activity. Later, it also includes the design and implementation of research. You have to have the respect towards the society and others as well. You should use ample data, resources, and information from outside. But finally, you need to remember that how's your scientific conduct? There are so many people, those who have been the victims of the scientific misconduct. So before I deal with the scientific misconduct, let me just talk about the goal of ethics in research. Because we undertake some or the other research, and sometimes we have no goal to achieve. It should never happen. So it is the responsibility of everybody, I mean to say every researcher, that you have to have your own goals to achieve while undertaking a research. So here, I would say that a researcher should always know what they are actually researching. Means, what research activity have you undertaken? What type of research you are doing? How you are going to execute your own research? What is the reason that you have taken up a particular area or a domain of research in order to do some research? And while conducting your research, how far you are testing your hypothesis? How far you are validating your own data? How far you are really giving justice to your own act of research? So once you feel that you are following certain protocol and the proper protocol has been implemented throughout the research activity, then you need not really worry about it. Because following a certain protocol, following a certain law, having certain ethics in mind while doing work, I think it will always safeguard you. You will be on the safer side once you bring your research out into the domain of researchers and into the domain of knowledge freely available to everybody. So, when you undertake a research, it is a study, of course, in the best of the interest of the society. It is a kind of study that you have taken up in order to protect the interest of the subject. And it is the responsibility of a researcher that you should really attain all the goals and objectives that you set right in the beginning of your research activity. For the past 30 to 40 minutes or so, I have been talking about research ethics, so on and so on. What do you mean by that? Actually, I provided a couple of slides in this respect and provided just a couple of words there, nothing beyond that. And I believe that each of the word provided there is self-explanatory. I did not really define the meaning of the word. And I begin with honesty. Whenever you talk about research ethics, the first fundamental principle of conducting research is honesty. First of all, how honest you are to yourself. How much honest are you to the research activity? how much honest are you to the resources, primary and secondary, that you are using? How much honest are you while writing your thesis or paper or project or whatever research topic that you take up? Honesty is the best policy. And beyond that, now I will not be able to explain all these terms here, but all these terms are self-explanatory. As I begin with, honesty is the best policy. Once you are honest to yourself, honest to your research, honest to your writing, honest to your resources, honest to your primary and secondary writers and researchers, I think your research is going to be the ethical outcome. So always show integrity, objectivity while doing research. Take the consent from the people, those who have really done marvelous job in the field of knowledge. Inform them that you are using their content. That is called informed consent. Be beneficiaries, not to yourself only, but to the society, but to the domain, but to the research, but to the university and all. Be non-maleficents, because defaming others, damaging the impressions of others, or else degrading their value in the society and in the professional life is not expected from a good researcher. Be a responsible publisher. Publisher in the sense, whatever that you publish, because you take up the responsibility for your own research paper or your book or whatever that you claim that it is yours. So while doing so, be responsible. Similarly, protect the anonymity. If at all you are using some anonymous resources, never claim that it is yours. Anonymous is anonymous. Maintain confidentiality in research, because unless you keep your research confidential, probably till the final outcome, you will not be able to test the fruits of it. So maintain the confidentiality. Never discriminate. It means always be non-discrimination, because doing discrimination is again against the law. Show the sense of openness. Okay, but by maintaining confidentiality. Otherwise, at one point of time, I am saying maintaining confidentiality, and at second time, I am saying be open and maintain openness. So both things will be contradictory. What is to be kept confidential and what is to be, kept open for all, that you have to decide. But anyway, in the second session, you will come to know about that when you undertake the on-hand training for patent writing and claiming certain patents to your name. The most important thing in the respect of research ethics is your respect for intellectual property rights. So be sensible to understand what is justice and what is injustice. And the most important thing is you should avoid plagiarism. I think many of us or all of us are the victims of plagiarism. Unless you are very ethical, you will never avoid plagiarism. If you are ethical, you will avoid plagiarism. So be ethical in order to avoid plagiarism. Now you try to understand, as I said just before, about the scientific misconduct. What do you mean by scientific misconduct? Actually, this I quoted from a book, okay, and this has been introduced by the US National Science Foundation, who have defined this scientific misconduct or the misconduct, different types of misconductive research. And I would also suggest one very good book that I happen to go through, written by Nimit Chaudhary and Sarah Hussain, called Handbook of Research and Publication Ethics. This book is also very, very good in order to understand the values of research ethics. But anyway, let us try to understand these three terms first. Then only you will be Then only you'll be able to understand what do you mean by research ethics. So the three terms which are suggested and given by United States of America National Science Foundation are: number one, fabrication; number two, falsification; number three, plagiarism. Excuse me. Let us get into the finer details of these words, and then I will, move towards the conclusion of my talk today. What do you mean by fabrication? Actually, fabrication is making up data or results. There are so many people. Those who make up the data do some changes here and there and claim as their own. And automatically it will also reflect in the results as well. And they just make up with the results and finally say that this is my outcome, this is my research. It has happened. Probably you might have heard in Maharashtra itself, in a couple of universities, some of the theses have been identified, and later they have come to a conclusion that only fabrication was done. In fact, the thesis was brought from some other state. Some sort of masking was done. Some sort of making up of data and results was done, and finally submitted, and the thesis was awarded. The most unfortunate thing in the world. So this kind of fabrication is also done by so many people. That is called making up data and making up the results. Secondly, you have falsification. What do you mean by falsification? Falsification means manipulating research material, research equipments that you have used, and the research processes that you have adopted. You manipulate these things. In fact, everything is already done by somebody else. You take up as it is, you manipulate the research material, you manipulate the research equipments, you manipulate the research processes, and finally you change or omit the data here and there, and finally come to a conclusion by saying that this is your outcome, this is your product. It is also a kind of scientific misconduct called falsification. And finally, you have the third term, which is a very well-known term throughout the world, I would say. That is plagiarism. What do you mean by plagiarism? Plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or creative, innovative ideas as your own. Never do so. You have several terms, several innovative, creative ideas introduced by so many writers, so many critics, so many scientists, so many researchers. In fact, we are not supposed to use them without consent. In fact, we are not supposed to use them without giving proper acknowledgement. And if at all you don't give any proper acknowledgement, if at all you don't take proper consent, and then you say this is yours, that is plagiarism. And here I would like to say, already provided in red color, that plagiarism may be intentional or unintentional, whatever you say. Sometimes in the floor of the court you may say, I don't know about IPR, intellectual property rights. You cannot say so. You cannot say like, I don't know, just it happened unintentionally. Nobody will agree. So plagiarism may be intentional or unintentional, whatever it may be, but it is unethical and it is against the law. Here, a final suggestion that I would like to make from my end while addressing this topic, that is research ethics, that we have to have intellectual honesty. Earlier also I said honesty is the best policy. Our moral duty is to be honest, is to be a very honest researcher, right? So intellectual honesty is proposing, performing, reporting, research, whatever it may be, whatever stage of research it may be. Show your intellectual honesty. And if you refer to honesty with respect to the meaning of your research, automatically the value of your research will get upgraded. It will be elevated. It is equally expected that the researchers present their proposals, their data honestly, communicate their best understanding of the work in written and verbal forms, whatever it may be, but always justify in terms that you are intellectually honest. So intellectual honesty is the honesty in the acquisition, analysis, and transmission of the ideas. Because you present your paper, you present your thesis, you present your project. Acquisition, analysis, interpretation, transmission, writing, and even saying in written or in verbal forms maintain intellectual honesty. A person is being intellectually honest when he or she knows the truth, states that truth very openly. And that leads to research integrity. This research integrity means conducting research in such a way that allows others to have confidence and a vote of trust in the methods and the methodology that you have adopted while doing research, and it is also equally reflecting in the findings of the research. This research integrity relates both to the scientific integrity of conducted research and to the professional integrity of a research. And if at all you really want to prove yourself as an ethical practitioner of research, I would suggest that you should follow these 11 ethical principles. You have a duty to society. Be honest to yourself. Extend benefit to yourself and to others as well. If at all there are any conflict of interest, try to resolve it at the earliest. Whatever content that you are using from other sources and others, keep them informed or else give them acknowledgement. Show integrity. Already I said just before about research integrity while doing your research. Always be non-discriminative, because no discrimination is acceptable and tolerable. Never exploit anybody. Probably you might have seen this Jaspal Bhatti's show, flop show, about a research guide and a research scholar. Never exploit anybody in any way. Privacy and confidentiality have to be maintained by everybody. Professional competence gets improved only when you show professional integrity, and your professional discipline and your understanding of honesty and adopting the sense of honesty will really lead you to the ethical practices as far as research ethics are concerned. Finally, here I suggest, if at all you don't want your research contribution to be stamped as failed, and the reason is plagiarism, be ethical, avoid plagiarism. Never do this kind of practice, peeping into others' screen, peeping into others' book, okay, writing on your writing for yourself, or else typing in your computer and claiming that it is your own. This is also unethical. If you don't want to be stamped as plagiarist, so always remember, plagiarism is the act of presenting another's work or ideas as your own. Never do that, and always say no to plagiarism. That will lead you to research ethics and the ethical practice in your research. So I give due respect to all these websites and this particular book also that I have used for preparing my presentation for this day, and I express my heartfelt gratitude to KKM College Manvat, the principal, the organizing committee, Durgesh Ravande sir, and all that, those who have really considered me for a person who can deliver a talk on research ethics today. So once again, I extend my warm greetings to all of you and come to the conclusion of this talk. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir. Hello.
Thank you.
Good day, sir.
Yes, sir. Am I audible? Am I- Thank you very much, sir, for your work. Concerning the topic that is research ethics, and you explain well what the research is, what the research is. Of course, it is a global one, which is concerning the professional.
You are not properly audible, sir. Please check your network once. Hello. चालीस बार सर.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Up over. Sorry for inconvenience. So, your thoughts will really bring some changes, positive changes in the research life of individuals. Definitely, sir. Thank you very much once again for your spacious words. Now we are going to towards the next session, that is second session. Without uh, going delayed, before the session, let me tell you that the next session will be conducted by a our resource person, Dr. Mahesh Kadgaonkar sir, who is research manager at Catalyst Department, Research and Development Center, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Faridabad, UP. And before sir speaks to us on the particular topic, that is the intellectual property rights and overview, let me uh, introduce in brief Dr. Mahesh Kadgaonkar sir. Dr. Mahesh Kadgaonkar has completed his bachelor's and master degree in chemistry from SRTMU, that is Swami Ramananda Tirthamara University, Nanded, Maharashtra. Further, he pursued his PhD in chemistry from National Chemical Laboratory, NCL, Pune, under the guidance of Dr. Raju Kumar on the thesis entitled as Polymorphism in PEA type structure and synthesis, characterization, and catalytic applications. Dr. Kadgaonkar worked as a postdoctoral research fellow at University of uh, Saskatchewan, Canada, on development of active supports for the hydrodesulfurization having high acid. Dr. Kadgaonkar also worked as SUD Chemi India Limited, that is SCIL Baroda, and his primary responsibility includes design of experiment for development of new advanced wash code for TWC, providing technical and scientific solutions to customer for their requirements to meet various stringent environmental norms, that is BS3, Euro 3, and CS3. Dr. Kadgaonkar joined Research and Development Center, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, Faridabad, in May 2010, and currently designated as a research manager. And his broad area of research is synthesis, characterization, and catalytic applications of geo and mesoporous materials. Currently, he is actively involved in the area of refinery catalyst with additive, propylene, the next
Sir, am I audible? First of all, thank you, sir, for giving such a nice introduction. If you have a copy of it, do share with me. My family members also feel that I have a good CV to show it to them. First of all, thank you. Thanks to organizations for giving me an opportunity to present at this forum. I would like to just share my presentation first. I'm trying it. Just wait for a minute. Now, whether my screen is visible?
No, sir.
See, I'm going here, but I'm not able to put it. I don't know.
Share the window
Now is it
option, sir.
visible?
It will come up.
Now is
Take
it
the
visible?
share the window option.
I have shared it. Is it visible now? Okay.
It's visible.
I hope I am audible also. Okay. First of all, thanks to organization for giving me an opportunity to present at this forum. Thanks to KKM College Manvat for giving me this opportunity. Dr. Gore has set a tone on the ethics in research, and this is a real platform to further move to the intellectual property rights. Actually, as it gives a legal protection to the researcher for his invention. Actually, if you talk about the intellectual property right, it is a very broad area. And in order to sum up it in one hour's time, I have taken some of the basic things which will be of useful. As we are talking about the ethics in the previous session, let me tell you that all the data has been taken from the available resources which are available in the public domain and from the sites of Indian Patent Office, so that it can be of use to all the people for their understanding. So to start with, last year in the month of January, I was attending a training program on intellectual property right by one of the leading patent attorney at Hot and Radisson Blue in Delhi, and the person told me a couple of things during the presentation of his keynote address, and that really changed my outlook towards the intellectual property right. What the person told me are intellectual property rights are the vital for the nation's economical survival, and he substantiated his words by giving me the fact that the intellectual property right comprising of astonishing 38% of total US GDP and 80% of the market value of publicly traded companies in US. That itself shows the horizon of this topic, how important it is for the people for their day-to-day activity. Although in India we started quite late, but we are trying to catch up with the world economies so that we can move forward and try ourselves from a developing country to a developed country in the era of 21st century. So what exactly is the intellectual property right is all about? The intellectual property right refers to the creation of a mind. Anything which you create as a new thing can be covered as intellectual property. Actually, intellectual property right is a mixture of law and the facts that the inventor finds out during his study. Even a fundamental duties of Constitution of India under the Article 51 says that it is a duty of every citizen of India to develop a scientific temper in terms of humanism and in the spirit of inquiry. So that also gives us this. In India, we follow the 1970 Patent Act. So IPR is a mixture of law and facts. So IPR covers your invention. Even you might have heard about different brand names like Tata, Maruti. All this is covered under intellectual property right. The secret formulas, the KFC, even your Coca-Cola, the content on your website, whatever the people say, at the right, it is say that all the rights are reserved. Even your movies, your cartoon networks, everything is covered under intellectual property law. So what are the different types of intellectual property rights? One is called as patent. Patent is nothing but your invention, your trademark. Trademark is, the identifying the source of product or service. You might have seen in terms of all the products, whether it's Adidas, whether it is a product from Tata or anything. This is a copyright. All the expressions of ideas, what are there? Trade secret, the secret information which is having a commercial value. So all these things are covered under the intellectual laws. So in the subsequent slides, we'll go one after another, explaining each things in detail, and later on, we'll talk about patents in detail so that it will give you a brief idea what exactly it is about the intellectual property. So what is a patent? Patent is a protection given to a patentee. The patentee is nothing but the person who invents the patent for the invention of limited term. The term in India is 20 years by the government for disclosing the invention for its ultimate benefit to the society. It is a right to exclude others from using your invention. So actually patent doesn't include your rights to use it. It is a negative right. It's not a positive right. It's a negative right. Once you patent certain things, it excludes others from using that invention. So your competitor company or your competitor organization will not be able to use that typical invention which has been allotted to you by the government for the period of 20 years. However, the owner has a qualified right to use this invention for the betterness of the society. So betterness of the society is one of the important things once you want to get the patent for it. Now the second term we are talking about the copyrights. It is an intellectual property right granted by the government to the author of an original literacy, dramatic, musical, artistic, or other eligible creative works. I have shown a couple of few things over there on the sides. Like all of you are following now this IPL, or everybody has used this Oxford dictionary. Most of our children see the Doraemon. All these things are the dramatic or literary things, or having some sort of creative works. It has a duration of life of that person who has invented it, plus 60 years following the death of the author. The third thing that we are going to see is a trademark. Whenever we go through the Air India, we see that typical image of a person standing, standing and welcoming you. Consider about my own organization, Indian Oil. We have a trademark with the circle written Indian Oil in Hindi in between, and downstairs in English with the typical orange and blue color with the 12 circles. Even if you see any vehicle from Tata, you will see that T in a typical standard, not in a normal way what it is shown. This is a trademark of Tata. When you see for this Apple laptops from Apple, it has that Apple open at one end. So these are the typical trademarks that has been given by this company. So what exactly it is? It is an intellectual property right granted by the government to the individual, business, or a legal entity that creates or uses a distinctive word, name, symbol, or a device to distinguish its products and services from those from any other entity in marketplace. So why everybody is going for a trademark, Having a furniture from a Godrej at a home gives you a better standard. So once we are getting a furniture from a Godrej, we say that it is a quality one. Even nowadays also most of the people go to the market and say that give me a Colgate. They don't say that give me a toothbrush or toothpaste. They say me give me a Colgate. So that is a trademark. That is a brand identity. Sorry. So what are the advantages of trademark? It gives you a brand name in the society. It identifies the owner and origin. It enhances the goodwill among the customers. It assures the consistent quality. So whenever you are going for a product that is having its own brand name, that will give you a satisfaction to the customers also. So duration of this trademark is for 10 years in terms of legality, and it can be renewed thereafter subsequently. Now this is about the trade secret. If you are coming about, if you are following the politics in India in 1995 to 2000, there were a lot more changes of the government. And there is one common tag from Pramod Mahajan, who is also a leader from our Marathwada region, from where I also belong. And he said that Pepsi or Pramod apna formula nahi batate hai. So this is trade secret is something having, it's an intellectual property which has to be public, but it is not disclosed publicly. It has to be protected, but it will not be disclosed publicly. Patent is a statutory right where the trade secret constitutes the proprietary information. So if you see, the best example for this is Coca-Cola. The trade secret of Coca-Cola is not known to anyone apart from owner and his one only person who is the highest confidential person of him. So still nobody can copy the Coca-Cola till date. Same is the case about the KFC. The KFC has its own formula for the spices, which is not known to anyone apart from that. So this state is governed by the WIPO. The word WIPO stands for World Intellectual Property Office, and it has distributed certain things under the unfair practices such as industrial and commercial spying, breach of contract, breach of confidence, inducement of breach. What are the advantages of trade secret? It's confidential. And if you see for patents, you get a term for 20 years. Other things you get for 60 years plus life, 10 years plus renewal thereafter. But for trade secret, it is for infinite time. As long as you can keep it confidential, it is going to be with you. Just a minute. So, to the best of my knowledge, Coca-Cola has been started in 1901 and still its formula is not known to anyone. So it's close to 200 years and still the formula is trade secreted in such a way that no one else can copy it. So this gives you the basic information about all the 4 different properties of the intellectual properties, that is patent, trademark, copyright and trade secret. As I am a researcher and I am involved in making the patents, that is the intellectual property for my organization. So I would like to talk more about the patents in upcoming slides. So as I said it, patents is a negative right which is awarded to the person for 20 years for his invention. It's a negative right which has been given which exclude the other competitors from using it. So if you go about the history of patent, the first history of the patent comes from the country called as Greece. So it is 1500 BC. Later on, we could find certain interest about the patents in Europe in 1700. But one of the thing about that Europe history is that the once the England started patenting the things, the fees which is there for this patent was 12 times higher than the average annual income of a common person. So actually, it is only the thing which is accessible to the high class people, not to the common people. So actually, that's why it is called as the early patent system was reinforced for the wealth of elites. Means the richer becomes the richer and the poorer becomes the poorer. So that's how the things happened about the patents in the early in 1700s. But if we talk about our country, as we know that our country has been ruled by the Britishers. So once the Britishers started it in 18th century in England, they started to do it in India also. So 1856, the Act 6 of 1856 on protection of invention based on the British Patent Law of 1952 has been implemented in India. So it has given certain exclusive privileges to the granted inventors for the new manufacture for the period of 14 years. So in 1859, the act is modified and it is called as exclusive privileges for making, selling and using the inventions in India, because we have been colonized at that time and we have been ruled by the Britishers. So all the British rules were implemented in India, authorizing others to do so for 15 years from the date of filing of specification. In 1972, the Patents and Design Protection Act has been implemented. In 1883, the Protection of Invention Act has been implemented. In 1888, the Consolidated as the Invention and Design Act has been invented. In 1911, the Indian Patent Act and Design Act has been first time named with the name of India. After independence, India constituted a committee under Justice Iyengar and it has provided a report to the Parliament of India in 1959 indicating the requirement of patent law in India. In 1967, the Patent Act was introduced to the Parliament and in 1970, the Patent Act the Parliament. In 1994, based on the requirements and the changes at a global scenario, certain amendments has been done to exclude the exclusive marketing right in the Patent Act. In 1999, the Patent Amendment Bill referred to the Select Committee for certain modification, and from 2003 to 5, the Patent Act of 1970, which is a mother patent act for governing the patents in India, has come into reinforce as Patent Act 1970 with 2005 amendment from 1st January 2005. So this is all about a journey of Indian Patent Act in India. But why are we talking so much about the patent? Is it really required to have a patent? or we are just talking because this is one of the topic and we just want to give an introduction. As I said it, it covers the 38% of total GDP of US. The patent is highly important. Why it is important? You can block the competition. So you can get a patent for certain invention of a product or a process, which you can avoid your competitor to use it. So once you have patent or a process, then the investors will attract to you because you have certain things which will give you the money over a period of time. It can work as a driver for financing. Some of the people can finance you to start your own entrepreneurship. For cross licensing in the statement of patent infringement, as sir was saying in the first these things, litigation is one of the biggest thing in the patent. So last year, if I am recalling correctly, there was 200k patent litigation cases globally. And this cross licensing and this having a patents can help you from any patent infringement. It is a license to revenue the stream. It can give you the more revenue. It is to document the company's intellectual property rights. So one number of companies having the higher intellectual property rights has been ranked very good. Even a Fortune 500 companies has the highest intellectual property rights. It establishes the prior user to defend the infringement. See, some of the companies saying that you are making a product by using my patent, then having your own patent will be your defense for infringement. You can defend your product portfolio saying that I have the patent for creating this product, and this product is considered by using this product or process patent, and then you can define your own things in the court of law and you can make a defense to your own things. So what are the exactly things that you can patent? This brings me to one very favorite statement of a US judge who says that anything under the sun who is man-made and useful for the society can be patented. But if you go by a definition, it's a machine, a manufacturer, a process, or a composition of matter that can be patented if it demonstrates following three characteristics. So whatever invention you are doing, it should have the three following characteristics. One is novelty. So it is a machine, a manufacturer, a process, or a composition of matter must not have been previously described or known. So it should be a novel thing. Second thing, it should have a utility or industrial application. See, there is no need in inventing certain things which is of no use, because it needs to have certain application. Sorry. It needs to have certain applications. It needs to have the industrial applications. So it should meet its function for which it is intended. And third thing is that it should be non-obvious or it should have an inventing step. A patent requirement ensures that the idea is new and is distinguished between the state of art or a prior art. What is that prior art? Prior art is the previous patents which was filed by the other companies or the literature which is available openly, publicly, or in terms of journals or any scientific journal which describes the process or a product. So what are the different types of patents that we can have? We can have a utility patent, we can have a design patent, and we can have a plant patent. So these are the three different types of patents that are generally provided by the Patent Office of India. So if you are considering about the utility patent, it protects the way invention work for 20 years from date of filing of provisional or non-provisional applications. So what is exactly a provisional or non-provisional applications, that we are going to talk in the subsequent slides. So in terms of design patent, it is an ornamental appearance which is protected from the 15 years. So the design patent having a validity of 15 years, whereas the utility patent is having a validity of 20 years. And this is a plant patent which is protected the new varieties of plants, and which is also there for 20 years. I'm sorry, I didn't mention the term over here in the plant patent. But these are the three common patents that are commonly granted by the Patent Office of India, or even in US or Europe. So as we know what are the things to be patented and what are the different types of patent, we should also know what are the things that are not patentable. An invention that is frivolous or that claims anything obviously contrary to the well-established natural laws. So I cannot patent saying that the water in river flows from the lower side, because this is a natural law, right? So we cannot patent anything which is there as a natural law. An invention, a primary or intended use of which would be contrary to the law or morality or injurious to the public health. So it is similar to what Dr. Gore was talking in his previous lecture, where it should be an ethical one, it should be a moral one. The mere discovery of scientific principles or formulations of an abstract of the theory cannot be patented. The mere discovery of any new theory or new use of known substance or of mere use of known processes, machine or apparatus, unless such known processes result into new product or employs at least one new reactant, cannot be patented. A substance obtained by a mere admixture resulting only into aggregation of properties or a component or thereof a process for producing such a substance. The sixth thing is that the mere arrangement or rearrangement or duplication of the works cannot be patented. A method of agriculture and horticulture cannot be protected in India. The inventions related to atomic energy cannot be protected in India considering the national interest. Any process for medical, surgical, curative, prophylactic or other treatments of human being or animals cannot be protected considering the human welfare in India. The plants and animals in whole or any part thereof other than microorganisms cannot be protected. This is covered by NABL also. So National Accrediting Board is there on biological things, so that also covers it. So certain things are given under this biological survey. These certain microorganisms only can be patented. Mathematical or a business method or a computer program, for example, the algorithms cannot be patented. Literacy, dramatic, musical, artistic work, television production, they cannot be patented. They are there as a trademarks. They cannot be protected under the patent. Mere scheme or rule or method for performing mental act or playing game cannot be patented in India. Presentation of information cannot be protected. It can be a copyright, but it cannot be patented. Topography of an integrated circuit can be a design right, but it cannot be patented as a cannot be patented in India. And 16th more thing, important thing, that is an invention which is an effect and is a traditional knowledge or is based on the properties of traditional knowledge cannot be protected. This is very important factor of the Indian Patent Act, and I'll come to this 16th number thing at the end of my presentation when I am talking about the case study of the patent on turmeric which India has fought against the US and India has won the case. So this is very important, that 16 number, which we are going to talk at the end of the things in terms of case study. So once we know what are the things they are patented and what are the things they cannot be patented, now how the patent application, So as we people are working as a researcher in the industry, we first of all conceptualize the idea. Once the idea is conceptualized, we bring it to a practice. We do certain experimentation, we get certain data, we find that whether whatever the way we have done it is a novel way and it is giving us the better results. Then we prepare a report out of that. That report has been thoroughly studied, and based on that report, we do the prior art search. The prior art search means the previous patents which has been filed by the other companies or the literature which is available in the scientific journals and the public domain. And based on this prior art search, we take a decision, or our IP cell, that is intellectual property rights cell, take a decision whether that can be patented or that cannot be patented. If it is patented, then we draft a patent application. So this patent application is very carefully drafted based on our result. So once we are drafting the patent document, what are the basic things of that patent? First is your specification. That is your description of your invention. What exactly you have done it? What is the background? So your background contains, what are the differences, needs of the current invention, how it is better than the previous invention, what are the advantages of it, and what is something that it is going to give it to the society, or what is the economical advantage of that. Further, we are going to summarize it. So we are going to discuss the advantages and the problems solved in the invention. Then we are going to have a detailed description, which is general explanation and how to practice the invention, along with certain specific examples. As I said in the definition, that this is a right which has been given to you for disclosing your invention. So you have to disclose what are the way and how you are going to implement that patent. Then we are going to define certain things which we are going to use. For example, if I am using BET, so I have to say that Brumet, Emmett and Taylor. So that is one of the method for surface area analysis. Then I have to write the claims. Actually, the claim is the meat of the patent. The claims has to be carefully worded. So whenever the Indian Patent Office, US Patent Office, or European Patent Office gives you some patent, it gives you a patent for following claims. So it says that it is a process or a product having these properties, having these specifications. So you have to make it sure that that has been worded very carefully, very properly, that stakes out the boundaries of your invention. So everything which you have invented is covered under that claims. This is very, very important. There are so many patent attorneys in India which only works for claiming the patents, these things. So as I said, it's a legal and inventive step. So even though legally also we have to say that whatever we have claimed is not infringing the other patents. So I'm stressing it out that the claims is the most important part of your patent. So as we have talked about the prior art, so generally the patents are filed at US Patent Office, Indian Patent Office, and European Patent Office. Although it can be filed all over the 170 countries under WIPO, but we file it as per our commercial requirements and opportunities. So if you are going for US Patent Office, you can search the patent database by using the hyperlink which I have provided. US PTO has its images for all patents from 1790, and the full texts are available from 1970 till present. So you can just go on this web page and search the patents. You can search even the both pending and issued patent, but they are been segregated separately. and you can update the most frequently. This database is quite frequently updated by the USPTO. So Indian Patent Office has although started very lately, we also have a public search for the patents, that is ipindiaservices.gov.in under the public search. So we can also search the different patents which are there. So I can show you one of the things from Indian Patent Office here only, how it looks like. So you can go to these sites, then suppose I'm just searching on it, so I can just type some of the things. I can type the applicant's name. So I'll type my name only here now. Let us see what it looks like. See if some So once we know that prior art search, so what exactly is a patent strategy? Now, as I told in the previous slides, your patent is ready. You have drafted the patents, you have drafted a claims. But as I said that drafting a claim is very important. So it may take certain times, or you may need some additional data to file the patent application. So the authority has given you one more option that you can file a provisional application. So the provisional application doesn't require any of the actually claims can be added later on within the 1 year time. So what that happens is that gives you the privilege over other people. You have filed the patent earlier than your competitors, so you are winning the race in terms of time, and your application will have a previous date compared to your competitors, so he will not be able to use that commercially. If even he is also working on a similar area, he will not be used to that patent. So most of the people also try to use the provisional application. So once you file the provisional application, you have to file the final application within the 1 year time. At the same time, once you file that application, you can also file it at an international level. So finally this goes away, then the national stage application goes, and finally you get a patent issued on your name or your organization name. So why I'm saying that it is on your name or your organization name? So all the research organizations in India or abroad, generally, although you are one of the inventor or you are one of the applicant, but all the
हा सर, आवाज येत आहे हो.
to our computer, so that we get the advantage of time, and our competitor will not be able to practice the same invention, and we will have the commercial advantages out of it. Sorry,
PPT is not visible, sir. Your PPT.
just a minute. Just a bit, I'm trying it. I think there is some issue, technical issue. So hopefully now it is visible. Hello, is it
Yes,
Yes,
visible?
sir.
it is visible. Yes, it is visible now.
So in India, wherein you can file the patent applications, in India you can file the patent applications at the 4 different things: east, west, south, and north. In north it is at Delhi, in south it is at Chennai, in west it is at Mumbai, and east it is at Kolkata. Kolkata is having a head office of Indian Patent Office. So there are the different territorial jurisdictions for all the patent offices. For example, the patent branch office in Mumbai has a territorial jurisdictions for the states of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Chhattisgarh, Union Territories of Diu and Daman, Dadar, Nagar Haveli. The patent office branch in Chennai covers Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Union Territories of Pondicherry and Lakshadweep. The patent office in New Delhi covers Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Delhi, Union Territories of Chandigarh, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. And the main patent office, which is stationed at Kolkata, covers rest of the India, which is not covered under 3 branches. So once you file a patent, how exactly the patent prosecution goes on? Initially, you file a provisional or a non-provisional patent. Once we do that, there is a restriction of requirement if more than one inventions to be claimed. So you can cover only one invention in one patent. Then there will be office action. I told that it should have 3 things once you need to file a patent. It should be novel. It should have a inventive step. So most of the things, we get a queries or office action related to non-obviousness. What the examiner says, that once you file a patent, it goes to examiner, and examiner commonly says that it is a combination of these 2 patents. The person who is skilled in that art can combine these 2 concepts and create your concept. So this is one of the common query that 90% paper patents get it. Now we have to address that query by giving your own way of thinking, that how your thing is entirely different than these 2 patents. So you have to differentiate whatever the references that examiner has given with your own invention, and you have to prove to the examiner that your invention is novel and it is non-obvious of these patents what he has referred to. And then you have to provide a response to the patent office, and all these things are done by the patent attorney. So you cannot do that. You need to have a patent attorney to do it. Then again, it goes to the examiner reviews it, and after that, whether examiner again re-ask you the question, or you are lucky enough to get your patent. And once you get your patent, you have to pay the fees. In order to maintain the patents also in India, you have to pay certain fees. To maintain one patent in India, I think, to best of my knowledge, it is 15,000 rupees per annum that you have to pay, so that you can maintain your patent for 20 years of term. So how how the patent goes out into the commercialization? First of all, we people do the research, then we invent the disclosure, then the patent is filed, the queries comes, then office action has been tackled, you get a patent. Once you get a patent application, then you can identify the potential licenses. So there are another way of doing the research also. Certain companies do the research, they file a patent and they give the right of the patent to the third party, so that they sell their patent to the third party, so the third party can commercially implement it, and they get a royalty or a patent fees against that. So they license it to other companies, and it goes to the commercialization. So generally the time taken from starting the research to do it is minimum 5 to 7 years. So that is the minimum time which is required for commercializing any patent. And the time I am telling is that is considering everything very fast. Certain cases it goes even up to 10 years. So in the previous slides, I told you that the traditional knowledge is one of the key factor of India. India is known for its traditional knowledge in terms of medicine, in terms of their yoga, in terms of all their things. So in 1995, in patents, India has a famous patent case against the turmeric with the US, and no patent presentation is complete without discussing that note. So this is a case against the CSIR India and University of Mississippi. Turmeric, as we know, it is biologically known as Curcuma longa, and it is from the Zingiberaceae family. It is widely grown in India and Pakistan. It is deep yellow in color, bitter in taste, used as a cooking ingredients and in medicines in India for the ages. However, in 1990, mid of 1990, exactly to be precise, 1995, the turmeric became the subject of patent disputes. What generally happened is that US Patent Office has granted a patent number of 5401504 to the University of Mississippi Medical Center in 1995, specially for its application in wound healing. See, we know that the turmeric is known for healing the wound for the ages. So this is our traditional knowledge, which is documented in terms of our literature, but we have never filed a patent on this. So University of Mississippi Medical Center has filed a patent in 1995, and that patent has been granted by the US Patent Office. Once it has come to us, there is lot more havoc in the news center. Everybody was talking that Indian traditional knowledge has been stolen and all these things. Then there was a committee which was established under Padma Vibhushan C. R. A. Mashelkar, and that time he was a DG to CSIR, Director General to CSIR, and they filed a complaint to the USPTO saying that this is our traditional knowledge, and we know the turmeric is used in the application of medicine for ages. So to support their claim, they have given 32 references from ancient Indian literature, which is published either in Sanskrit, Urdu, and Hindi. At the same time, a paper published in Indian Journal of Medical Association has been also provided in 1953. What happened is that after this, USPTO has revoked the patent which is granted to the University of Mississippi. So that was a very big news in 1995 to 2000. Everybody was talking about the patent of turmeric, even the patent of neem and the patent of basmati rice. So it was in a well news. So this traditional, after that, India has developed this traditional knowledge database, and now that is considered as one of the references by USPTO. As you see that in the 16th number slide point, I have told you that there are certain things which is having a traditional knowledge cannot be patented. So this case study shows that India could win the turmeric war because it has these 33 references and one paper which is published in 1953 in Indian Journal of Medical Association. So the subsequent photo shows that Nature, which is a scientific journal, shows that US office withdraws the patent on Indian herb, that is turmeric. Now the second case study I am going to show you about the Apple and Samsung. So Apple and Samsung both are the leading manufacturers in the mobile phones, and Apple has filed a suit against Samsung in 2011, and Samsung has countered its application. However, because it has a patents and the publications along with it, so Apple in 2012, Apple has been awarded as 1.1
Sir, voice is not audible. Rahul sir. त्यांची नेटवर्कचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे का? कोण लावत?
Left
लेफ्ट झाली.
परत join होईल.
त्यासाठी लेफ्ट झाली. मी लावला होता ते उचलला नाही.
Sir, join आहे त्यांना बोला ना.
डॉक्टर महेश सर. Mahesh sir, am I audible to you?
Join.
फोन कर.
Hello. Was I audible to the last slide or the connection lost in between?
Connection lost in between. Now you are audible, sir.
So shall I continue again?
Yes, yes, yes. You shall continue.
So up to which slide which was there? This slide has been done. The slide of turmeric.
Yes.
This was done, right?
This takes slide.
Slide येत नाही.
The slide is not visible, sir.
No, I just put it now.
Yes.
So in terms of
Yes.
this 16 things, what are the things which cannot be patented in India? Now it is visible. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is it visible?
Now it is visible. Now it is visible.
In the 16th point, I have told you that there are certain things which cannot be patented in India, and one of that thing was of traditional knowledge. And during that presentation, that I'll come back to you at the end of my presentation. So this was a 16-point an invention in which the effect is a traditional knowledge or is based on the properties of traditional knowledge cannot be patented in India. So as all of us are aware, the turmeric is commonly used in India and Pakistan. It is commonly used as a cooking ingredients and the medicines for the ages. If something happens to you when you are playing a cricket match and coming back to the home, and if there are some scratches or wounds, your mother try to go to the kitchen and just try to bring some of the turmeric powder and put it on it, and you get quickly relieved out of the pain. So this is commonly known for healing the wounds for the years in India. But this has really become an issue of a patent litigation in mid of 1990s, when the US Patent Office has granted a patent to the University of Mississippi Medical Center for its application for wound healing. So it has become a big news. The New York Times also has cited that news. It was a very big news in India, and everybody was saying that Indian traditional knowledge is at stake. That time, Padma Vibhushan R.A. Mashelkar was one of the that time a Director General to the CSI, and he formed a team and they filed a complaint against this patent to the US Patent Office, saying that this is a traditional knowledge of India and it cannot be patented. Actually, I have an opportunity and a privilege to listen to Professor Mashelkar on one of the time when he told that how this exactly went out. The story behind it is that he was sitting on his director's bungalow at NCL, and he could see that one pigeon has come to him and it was wounded. That time his mother told him put some turmeric on it. So that really has given a fillip for him to say that this is a traditional knowledge. And further, India has given the 32 references in the Indian literature, ancient literature, which is published either in Sanskrit, Urdu, or Hindi. At the same time, there was one scientific publication which was published in Indian Journal of Medical Association in 1953, where he has, cited the applications of the turmeric. So, based on these two things, USPTO has revoked the patent application from the University of Mississippi in 1997, and the traditional knowledge database of India is considered now as one of the reference for USPTO. This is the scientific journal Nature, which shows that the US Patent Office withdraws the patent on Indian herb, that is turmeric. The second case study is between the Apple and Samsung. Apple and Samsung both are the global manufacturers for the mobile. In April 2011, Apple sued Samsung for infringing its own patent, because Apple says that they are the original manufacturers and they have the patent rights to manufacture the mobiles. And what has happened is that the case went on from 2011 to 2014. Finally, the Apple has been given 1.5 billion plus 119 million as for infringing the patent. So this much fine was given to the Samsung, and Samsung has to pay that fine to the Apple. There was a great thing about this fine is that, sorry, all this fine was loaded on a trucks, and the trucks were gone to the California Apple house, Apple's factory, and there they unloaded it. So it was covered even by all the top journals, all the top newspapers and TV channels in 2014 and 15 time, when the Samsung sent almost close to 500 trucks loaded with all the coins or the cents to the Apple, meeting their charges what has been levied on them by the honorable court of the US. So actually there were 7 patents which were under the contention. One of the patent was related to the quick links, what is one of the common options in the mobile. Another patents related to the universal search, background synching, slide to unlock, autocorrect, folder organization, and video transmissions are also under the contention. And finally, Apple being the original original patent owner of these things. Actually, Apple owned the case, and Samsung has been levied with the heavy charges. Samsung was a big company, so somehow it could sustain that great economic loss. But if that thing happens to the Indian company, it will be very difficult from them to come out of the situation. So patent in term is very important, and to be ethical is one of the things. What was outcome of the previous lecture from Dr. Gore? So patent really gives you an opportunity to be ethical. It protects your right of the patent, and you can always refer to the court of law wherever you are and whatever the country you are doing the business. And the law will govern you, and the law will give you your own rights. So I have tried to a couple of most of the things what may be of a use to a common people. I know this is a subject which is far different from what we see on day-to-day basis. I tried to put all my efforts to make it bit understandable. I hope I made the requirements of the organizers who thought that this can be of use. Finally, once again, I would like to thank the KKM College Manvat for giving me an opportunity to present at this forum. Thank you one and all for your patient listening. I am open to any questions. I'll try to answer all your questions, whatever are there from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahesh Kadgaonkar, sir, for sharing your thoughts on this IPR overview. Uh, you give the detailed idea about the patent, the differentiated the patent and non-patented things, give the detailed idea, and you put forth your presentation about draft application and patent document and everything. So it was so good to see all these new things, really new for us. Uh, we are very much thankful for coming over to us. Thank you very much, sir. Any question you may please raise.
Sir, I'm audible.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Sir, when we apply for the patent, USA or India, where for the application any?
No, no. Actually, the thing is that whenever you are doing any research in India, it is mandatory to apply for first to the Indian patent. And once you apply for the Indian patent, automatically, see, you can apply in two terms. You can apply the provisional patents, which will be having a validity of 1 year. So that time you did not have to submit the detailed patents and that claims, as I said it during my presentation. And after 1 year, once the Indian patent files, simultaneously the patents can be filed in US and Europe. So wherever the country you want to file in.
Okay, sir. How many people we will add for the patent? There is
You
a
can have n
maximum.
number of people, but actually one of the basic guidelines from the Indian Patent Office is that every author should have his contribution towards the claim of the patent. It's not a case that suppose I am working in an organization, I am a research manager, I am reporting to a chief research manager. As he is my boss, in order to only please him, I have to put his name. It's not the way it's going to happen. It should not happen, but it generally happens in India because we more work for our bosses rather than our organizations. But
Okay,
there
and
is no limitation on number of authors.
if any charges there?
Yeah, definitely. The patents is a costly affair. It's not that easy. And you yourself cannot file a patent. You have to file it to the attorney. So actually, you can draft your invention. You can find one attorney. You can go to him. You can then he will draft a patent application for you. Once he draft the patent application and fine tunes the claim, then he will file it on behalf of you to the patent office. So he will give all the rights to that patent attorney to file your application. So he will file it. So he is the person who is a legal authority. So in the first slide only I told you, it's a facts plus law.
Thank you, sir.
So it's a costly affair. It varies from patent attorney. Some patent attorney charges from 2 lakh rupees, certain for one patent. Certain people may charge more than 5 lakhs also. It depends upon as you go to a normal doctor and a specialized doctor.
Sir, I see that some paper are publishes, some peoples are patent. So how they are possible they can patent any paper? There is
Sorry, I could not get
some
your
people,
question.
some peoples are paper publications and they are told that I got the patent for that paper. So that is truly
No, actually, once you publish something in the public domain, so that cannot be patented. So the first thing for the patent is that it should not have any prior art. So your paper, if you have published earlier, becomes the prior art for that patent. So your idea, if you are publishing in terms of patent, paper, you cannot patent it. So generally, what we do at our end is that we first patent the thing, and by giving that reference, we publish it.
okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else, please, to raise the question? I think that is sufficient. Uh, Now may I request Dr. Durgesh Ravande, the IQAC coordinator, conclusion and vote of thanks. Ravande, sir. What's up?
Hello, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to present before you presidential sum up of this one-day national webinar on intellectual property rights and research ethics. Through the two presentations, the participant might have got it very well. What are the basic what is the basic idea of intellectual property right? Why intellectual property right is essential? What is its form? What is its structure? What can be patented and what cannot be? What is the distinction between the actual process that basically takes place? So, major aspects which are very much related with this very significant issue, relevant issue, that is IPR, which is being widely covered by our resource person, Mahesh sir. So, I am very grateful to Mahesh accepting our invitation and presenting his deliberation on intellectual property rights. Apart from this, I am also grateful towards Dr. Vitthal Gore sir for his elaborations on research ethics. Dear participants, we are very much acquainted with the fact that a good deal of unethical practices have been taking place, and these unethical research practices may damage or have started damaging our image as a country. Therefore, to a great extent, the researcher has to be well aware of the fact that research has to be undertaken of basically on the basis of ethic. So it is an ethical practice. No one should keep himself or herself away from this fact that without being ethical, research cannot be undertaken. What are the actual processes of undertaking research? That is a different thing. Apart from that, the most important thing that has been taught or that has been widely considered in different parts of the country, in various universities, in various institutes, that they have been trying their level best to make their research student aware of the fact that research ethics are very important. Therefore, there won't be issue like plagiarism, or there won't be such types of issues that may damage image of that university in general and the nation in particular. So I'm really grateful to both of the speakers who have widely delivered, widely presented their views in this regard. And I'm very happy to have their presence for this one day national webinar on IPR and research ethics. So once again, I'm grateful to them, and I have a great deal of pleasure in mentioning here or putting here my vote of thanks for the participants who have joined us from different parts of the country, across the country. And you know that to a great extent, such types of webinars have been taking place in different colleges, universities, even though the presence of participants was a delighting one. I'm very happy to mention here their presence. And before I conclude, I would like to state here, I would like to instruct that the feedback feedback link is actually being shared, and participants are requested to visit their call option or go through their call option, and there they would find feedback link. They have to submit the feedback. As soon as they will submit the feedback, they will get the certificate. Once again, I am thankful to one and all, and here I declare that the session is over, or webinar on IPR and its proceedings is completed. Thank you. Thanks a lot.